Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvina vadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What is love? We thought that maybe that's a good topic to talk about on this Mother's Day, because what we most associate with the mother is love. And love that mother has towards the child is generally presented as ideal love. And so it is. What is meant by ideal love is when it is unconditional love. So mother loves, let's say, an infant unconditionally. Because after all, this little infant is our own self. And also we are told that for the first 6 months, that infant does not even feel a sense of separation. I think it feels that it's just part of the mother. Meaning that the infant doesn't have a sense of individuality at all. There is no separation. And so, the ideal love is where there is no separation between those who love each other. In that sense, this may be considered the most ideal love, unconditional love, because the conditions for unconditionality exist at that time, because the little child is nothing but part of mother herself. The child or the infant does not feel any sense of separation. There is oneness. And where there is oneness, that is where the ideal love is. Because Upanishad says, Atmanastu kamaya saram priyam bhavati, meaning that the love for one's own self is natural. Everyone loves one's own self unconditionally. Now, Swami used to give an example that when this fellow wakes up in the morning and he goes to the bathroom, first thing he looks at is his own face, however it looks like, but he looks at it. He looks at his face even while brushing the teeth, while shaving, at every moment, at every occasion. And subsequently also, whenever an occasion presents itself, whenever there is a reflecting surface, it may be even just the hood of a car, which may only present a very distorted reflection, but he takes an opportunity to look at himself. That shows a love for the self. It is only love for the body, really. If there is so much love for the body, what would I of the self? Because of which the body becomes a self. And thus we love the self at all the times, at all the places, under all conditions. It is unconditional love. It's not that I love myself only at a given time and not other time, at a given place and not at other places, or in a given situation, not other situation. Love for myself is primary thing. Although sometimes you can argue, okay, Swami, I hate myself. Many people hate themselves, which also is true. Hatred for oneself or dislike for oneself is also true, equally true. But what is that self? That is only the self that is ego, not the true self. So what we are dissatisfied with is not the true self, which is Satchidananda. But what we are dissatisfied with is what we think is a self. Unfortunately, we do not know the true nature of ourselves. So ego, which is a product of self and non-self, united together. The self, of course, is Atma, the consciousness, but then this body, sense, mind complex, which is really non-self, with Prakriti, matter, insentient. However, that also is looked upon as self just by habit. So where there are two, we take it to be one. Like an iron ball, if placed in a furnace, becomes red hot, then it becomes a fireball, which is a union of iron and fire. There are two elements there, but they at the first sight look like one. Looks like the fire is round, iron is red. Each one has imbibed the quality of the other as though. And so also this body-mind complex is like the iron ball, consciousness like fire. And there is an intimate union between the two, and therefore, where there are two, it looks like one. And therefore this body is taken to be myself. And that is where the question of not liking myself can come. It is possible that the body is not ideal, the mind is not ideal, the ego is not ideal. And therefore, when we say that there is a dislike for the self, or sometimes even a tendency to commit suicide, how can it be, Swamiji, if it loves the self? But that is because what is not self is taken to be self, and that is for which we may have a dislike. But for the true self, which I am, which is Satchit Ananda existence, awareness, wholeness, is always love. Unconditional love. So really speaking, if we want to understand what love is, if we look at our own self and the kind of relationship that we have with our own self, we will know what love is, because we love ourselves unconditionally. In fact, whatever we do is done out of love for the self. If I'm happy, if I love you, that is also because I love myself. If I hate you, that also is because of love for myself. So love for the self is unconditional, and it is most reflected in the love that the mother has, I say, for the infant, because there is no separation there. There is oneness, and there is unconditional acceptance. Mother unconditionally accepts the infant however it is in the eyes of others, because it is a part of her own self. The infant does not feel a sense of separation, and therefore infant also unconditionally loves the mother. I think next example can be that of a pet, of unconditional love is with a pet, with a dog or a cat or whatever. Because once a relationship is established, with a pet, then because its needs are minimum. In case of an infant, once it grows, and then the terrible two comes, and when it starts as feeling a sense of individuality, then needs come. And the extent to which the mother can fulfill those needs, to that extent the love continues. And when a time comes when mother cannot fulfill those needs, then slowly there is a little bit of deterioration in love. And by the time the child becomes 18, I guess we have had enough of each other, and so we are ready to call it quits. That shows separation. How the intensity of love depends upon the intensity of oneness, and when that oneness slowly deteriorates and more separation is created, we find that the intensity of love also suffers. I guess that does not happen with the pet. Once a relationship is established, then because pet has there is no sense of individuality. It doesn't have any demands, other than demands of hunger and thirst and basic needs for the body. and maybe wants to play, wants to be taken out. This morning I was told that my two dogs, they wait in the evening at the bank of the lake. They want to be taken out for a boat ride. So it depends on how you train them and how you spoil them. But this is how, what their needs are very simple. Mostly those which you can fulfill. That being the case, pets are totally satisfied with their masters. And therefore, they express an unconditional love. Every creature expresses love. But then our love is conditional, inasmuch as when my needs are satisfied, the extent to which my needs are satisfied, to that extent my love becomes unconditional. Inasmuch as the little pet doesn't have many needs, that very easily satisfied, and therefore, so that is another example of unconditional love. That's the reason why children grow up and then they go on their way and they leave pets here, with parents. So that's good also. I guess they know that's, the needs of the parents. And therefore, as a legacy, they leave their pets here. And so the parents have a replacement, sort of. They need somebody to love. And so, but love is our nature, by the way. We don't have to seek out love, although we generally ask for love. Please love me. Do you love me? Well, Swami used to say that when they are celebrating 25th wedding anniversary, this woman asked her husband, do you really love me? Meaning that we think that we should be loved, we think that love has to come from somewhere else. This is our assumption. Although on one hand I say that we love ourselves unconditionally, on the other hand, since we do not know what our true nature is, ego that is taken to be the self, and ego is always limited, and therefore I have complaints about my own self. I am the worst critic of myself. And therefore this self-dissatisfaction is very common in me, in a human being. And that's the reason why for satisfaction we need, since I cannot love myself as I find myself to be. Even though love of the self is said to be natural, but the self that I find myself to be is not lovable in my own perception. And therefore, I am always seeking love. We seek love from outside. We want others to love us. And we are never sure. Because, how do you know whether somebody loves you? Only from their external, conduct. And you always wonder that yes, this person loves, but there are always occasions you feel that I wonder whether he really loves me or not. And so, I guess when there is these two individuals separate from each other, you can never be sure whether that love is there or not. And more the separation, less the love is. And so we are always seeking love, always in need of love. That's where Vedanta comes into play. That look, love is not something to be sought from outside. Because whatever you get from outside is always conditional. If somebody loves you, then also there is always an unexpressed or unspoken condition there, that you should also return that favor in some form or the other. And when do we feel loved, by the way? When we are accepted. What is we? Right now, what I am is nothing but my ego, which means my likes and dislikes. So who am I? I am nothing but my likes and dislikes. So when do I feel loved? When I am accepted, meaning that when my likes and dislikes are accepted, then I feel accepted. Then I feel loved. Meaning that what is meant by like is, if you do what I like you to do, if you refrain from doing what I dislike you to do, You make me comfortable by satisfying my likes and dislikes. Then I feel comfortable. Then I feel accepted by you. Then I feel loved by you. So that is when a freshly married couple, when it comes to us, and Swamiji had a simple formula for them. Swamiji, what is the duty after we get married? So it's very simple. The duty of husband is to make the wife happy, and duty of wife is to make husband happy. Put them on a roller coaster, because to make somebody happy is a very tough job. Because I said, when does someone feel loved, or when does someone feel happy? When their likes and dislikes are satisfied. So as long as husband satisfies the likes and dislikes of wife, so long she feels accepted and loved and happy. And vice versa, when the wife satisfies the likes and dislikes of husband, then he feels accepted, he feels happy, he feels loved. Which means that we must know what the likes and dislikes are. We must become very sensitive to the other person, their likes and dislikes, their emotions, their needs. More sensitive you are, and more giving you may be sensitive, but you may not care to give. So I don't care. She likes it, what do I care? So not only you are sensitive, not only you understand what the other person likes and does not like. Sometimes we complain, why do you like that? I don't care for that. Why do you like it? Why? How come you dislike it? I like it. So there's another problem. That we want them to like what we like and want them to dislike what we dislike. But without putting those conditions, if I just understand with sensitivity as to what the other person likes and what he or she dislikes, without any kind of a commentary as to why, that's what the person is. So accepting the person as a person is really love. What is love is accepting, respecting, accepting the person as a person is. But what is the person? The person is nothing but the likes and dislikes right now. Meaning that accepting, respecting and respecting the likes and dislikes. Meaning that doing something by which their like is satisfied and refraining from doing something with the dislike. Now that requires a lot of care, a lot of sensitivity, a lot of commitment. Because unfortunately your own likes and dislikes, the problem is that even if we want to make somebody happy, by doing what they like and by refraining from doing what they dislike, what comes in the way is my own likes and dislikes. Because what the other person likes, I may not like. And what she or he dislikes, I like. That's where the problem comes. So in order for me to accept or love the other person, I try my best to satisfy the likes and dislikes. In that process, I let go my own likes and dislikes. Because what the other person like is what I dislike, I remain indifferent to my dislike and do what the other person likes anyway, even if I like or not. And similarly, if I like something but the other person does not like it, then I do not do it. Now, whether it will help the other person, but it helps us the most. This whole commitment to love somebody, to accept somebody, to make somebody happy, this commitment is a great engine of our growth. Because we can do that only when we let go our own likes and dislikes. It would be a rare occasion, a rare thing that what I like also is what the other person likes and vice versa. More often than not, it is not so. Because man is one kind of creature and woman is another kind of creature. They have been born and raised in different environment with different culture, different upbringing. And anyway, nature has made them different. And so, naturally, what they like is going to be different, what they dislike is going to be different. And this combination nature has created, they combine these two totally different kinds of people and given us a challenge. Our Swami used to say that you have to become a yogi in order to really live a married life. Who is a yogi? Yoga is described as chitta vritti nirodha, stopping all the thoughts, meaning stopping all these negative thoughts. Meaning that you have to let go and let go and let go in order to retain the harmony with the other person. Because everybody wants others to do what they like, and everybody wants others not to do what they dislike. That being the case, we have to first know what they like and what they dislike and do the best that we can. It may not happen that regardless of what you do, you can really satisfy the likes of other person, but at least you have commitment, you have value for it. So we should have value for this. Value for making the other person happy. That's the real definition of a contributor, who has a value for making the other person happy. And why is it value? Because there is an understanding, a maturity, that true happiness in me comes when I make other person happy. That making other person happy is the healthy way of becoming happy. Using the other person, exploiting the other person for my advantage is what we normally do or often do. Because I think that happiness should come from outside. Love has to come from outside. On the other hand, the formula is that love comes when you love. Happiness comes by making others happy. In the sage Narada has composed what they call Bhakti Sutra, the aphorism devotion, where sage Narada describes the relationship that a devotee has with Lord. And what is devotee's value? He says, Tat sukhe sukhitvam, being happy in his happiness. Meaning, what is called devotion for Ishvara is to do what he likes and refrain from doing what he does not like. You offer him what he likes and not what he doesn't like. Don't ask question, why do you like this, why you don't like this. How come Lord Shiva likes this? Every deity, every devata has his own likes and dislikes, So Lord Shiva likes something and Krishna likes something else and Devi would like something else. And without asking why they like this, we provide them what it is that they like, making them happy. So can you imagine what is devotion? Making Ishvara happy. What do you mean making? He's always happy, making him happy. By offering what he likes, by refraining from what he does not like. So similarly also, tat sukhe sukhitvam. When I gain happiness by making another person happy, there is what we call sattvic happiness, a freeing happiness. When I gain happiness at the cost of other person, it's called rajasic happiness, binding happiness, or binding love. Love and happiness essentially go together. So in Vedanta, there is no great word for love really, But there is ananda. Sukham or ananda. And ananda also should be understood as love. There is one text where they talk about something, which is dear. A text called Drugdrishya Viveka says, what is the nature of an object? What is his object? This thing has 5 aspects about it. Let us call it a pot. So first is that this pot is. Second is the pot shines in my consciousness. Third is that pot is dear to me. That's an interesting, first time we hear the word priyam. Asti it is, bhati it shines in my consciousness, priyam it is dear to me because it is useful to me. And then it has a name and a form. Take a clock, also it is, shines, is dear, has a name and form. So what separates one object from the other is name and form, but what is common among them is that it shines, it is dear. Asti, bhati, priyam it says, which he translates Sat, Chit, Ananda. That is the true nature of everything and true nature of ourselves. So living a life in harmony with ourselves is the right way of living. That's what a wise person spontaneously does. The nature of Atma is Satchidananda, and therefore he lives as Satchidananda. Sat means existence. Chit means awareness or knowledge. Ananda means happiness. And therefore provide existence to somebody, provide knowledge to somebody, provide happiness to somebody, that is your contribution. What is meant by providing existence to somebody means help them live longer. Do something so that they are healthier, live longer, contribute to their well-being, contribute to their knowledge base and make them happy. So this is a way to live life. And that is the way to live life when what I do is love. Because in so doing, the love gets reflected to me. It doesn't get reflected to me really. When I love you, it looks like the love gets reflected to me, but it's not so much being reflected. It becomes manifest from me. Because I am the embodiment of love. The ironical thing is that even though love is my own nature, I don't feel love. And I struggle. I struggle in seeking love from the world. And I do what I can do to make the world happy so that the world will love me. I always try to please other people, and in that process I may even suffer to please other people so that they will love me. But this is the wrong thing. This process never works. Nobody can ever feel satisfied that they have gained that love or happiness after all these efforts. So love is not something to be acquired from outside. It's to be made manifest from myself because love is my nature. And something is blocking this love, stifling this love. Like the clouds are covering the sun, so there is something that covers that love, and that is what we call raga dveshas, or likes and dislikes. A cloud of likes and dislikes conceals the sun of love. And that's the reason why, even though love is always shining in our heart, we don't experience that. So which moment we experience? A moment when that cloud of likes and dislikes goes away. When you satisfy my like and dislike, at that moment my mind becomes free from that, and I have a glimpse of the love. But under likes and dislikes come, and then again there is a cloud. But the process is not seeking love from you, is making you happy, or expressing my love for you by making you happy, by fulfilling your likes and dislikes. But Swamiji, that the people will exploit you, people will take advantage of you, etc., etc. That this common question arises. Well, you try, take one step at a time and see what happens. And when you feel that works, then take 2 steps at a time. Don't plunge into things, but feel your way through. Then you will know. You'll develop the skill of how to make somebody happy without feeling being exploited. But that's the only way that we can discover love in our life. Love is discovered from my own self. It's already there, has to be made manifest. For that, to remove that veiling, something that veils that love, and that's all my likes and dislikes, my idiosyncrasies, my demands, my expectations. So how do we begin? In any relationship, what do we do? Is we have to let go of something. Let go what? Let go of our expectations. We try to make our relationship as free from expectations as we can do. We try to make our relationship as free from demands, as much a non-demanding relationship. But how do you do that? How do you give up expectation from somebody? What is an expectation? Expectation is my unspoken demand that other person should change to suit me. What is an expectation? When I want you to do something, I want you not to do something, etc., etc. When that expectation is there, which means that I do not like you as you are. But if you change as I want you, then I like you. So expectation is really a rejection of what is and demanding something that is not, which the other person has to do to make me happy. This is called expectation, in which there is a non-acceptance of what is. So when can I accept what is? When I can let go my expectation. So how do you make the other person accepted? How do you make the other person loved? By letting go of the demand and expectation. Meaning what? Accept the other person as unconditionally as possible. Now that will be lifetime work, by the way. To be free from expectation or demands is much easier said than done. But if you value for it, if I realize that that's the only true way of becoming happy, only true way of discovering love, becoming a loving person, if I value for being a loving person, because a loving person can only be a happy person. A non-loving or cruel person cannot be happy. A kind and loving person can only be happy. We think that happiness comes from all kinds of things, but no. Comfort comes from everything else. But love only comes from kindness. Happiness comes from love and kindness. So, a value for being a loving and kind person. How do I do that? By expressing my love and kindness to others. How do I do that? By a commitment to respect them, accept them as they are. Meaning that accept them or respect them with the whole baggage, meaning with their virtues as well as vices. But everybody is a combination of guna and dosha. Guna means virtues and dosha means opposite, vices. There is nothing in the universe which has only virtues and no vices, and nothing in the universe is only vices and no virtues. Whatever is created as a combination of the two. So you get the whole package. When you accept a rose, the thorns come with it. You cannot have a rose without thorns. And I know, unless they create nowadays, they can create anything, I guess. But generally, traditionally, a rose always has thorns. So when you accept rose and you want the fragrance, you must also accept the thorns and learn how to deal with that, how to handle the thorns. Similarly, every person is going to have beauty as well as some ugliness. There is, in varying measure. They will have love and they will have also some anger and stuff, jealousy and stuff like that. So what we want is the good part that we want. But the other part we don't want. Now that you don't have a choice. You have the whole package. That being the case, you accept the other part also with large-heartedness, with accommodation, with an understanding that if the person has jealousy, it is not the fault of the person, it is ignorance. If person has anger, it is not their fault, they do not know any better. Ignorance, helplessness, pain, that's what causes this anger and jealousy. A sense of lack within. So this is not a person's fault. Just as with a child, how we are very accommodative. Oh, child doesn't know, Swami. What do you do with it? Poor thing does not understand. So we can easily accommodate a child when it gets angry, when it breaks something. After all, child. But that advantage we don't give to our spouse, Our Swami used to say that the advantage that we give to a madman in the street corner. In India, sometimes the street corner, a madman is standing in the evening with all his collection of, rags, etc., which he has during the day. And he's laughing, and when you pass by, then he says all kinds of things to you. He may abuse you also. You also smile and go away. You don't take them into consideration. You don't shout at him. You don't retaliate. What do you expect from him? He's a mad person. If you are walking by and a dog barks at you, what else do you expect from a dog? It barks at you. That's his nature. If a mosquito stings you, what do you expect from a mosquito, It's inconvenient and painful, but then you don't get angry at mosquito. Normally, somebody may, but you don't get angry at mosquito. It's inconvenient, it's all right. But not anger. So mosquitoes we are able to accept as mosquitoes. I don't expect a mosquito not to bite me. I don't expect a dog not to bark at me. I don't expect a mad person not to be crazy, He says even a little fraction of that advantage, benefit, if we give to our friends and to our near and dear ones now, there we are very strict. How my friend should behave with me is very clear, very strict. And if they fail to do that, if 99 days receives a smile, 100th day fails to do that, I just get upset. What talk of spouse? Closer the relationship is, then greater the expectations are. And that being the case, people who hurt the most are people who are closest to us. Because closer a person is, more the demands are, what they should be, more expectations are there. And therefore, my expectation not being fulfilled is a greater possibility the person is close. When I am not related to, I don't care. Doesn't matter how they act, how they behave. But I am very, very conscious and very sensitive, I should say. This is what you call sensitivity with people who are very close to us. And so, we should remember what kind of benefit I give to this strange person, unknown person, a dog, a cat. I don't mean I look upon this spouse's dog or cat, but what kind of benefit I give them. Even a fraction of that I can give, We can begin by letting go of our expectation, meaning that as best as we can, accepting the person with its shortcomings. We have no problem with the virtues of the person. We have problem only with the shortcomings and the extent to which we can accept that. To that extent, we make the other person comfortable. In every relationship, the first thing is to make the other person comfortable. Make the person accepted. Then the person feels safe and secure. Then the person is open also. In all your personal relationship also, or personal relationship also. A person will open up with you only when the person feels comfortable, safe, accepted. And more that element is in a relationship, more loving the relationship is. And the relationship makes me happy. So relationship is a very, very important thing in our life. Only human being has that privilege of being related to others. And thus a relationship can become the source of great happiness. It is also the source of all unhappiness also. When we do not relate properly, as we often do, a relationship itself becomes a big problem and source of unhappiness. But then, the relationship is meant to be a source of happiness. When there is this mutual respect, mutual acceptance, mutual concern, mutual care. We become so preoccupied with what we need that sometimes then what the other person needs becomes less and less important to us. So it's other-centered life, not self-centered life. And charity begins at home, as we say, And so first experiment can be started with the spouse. That will be the easiest thing. Most difficult thing, but the first thing to do. And when you get trained from that, then everything else becomes, that's a difficult exercise. In Sanskrit they call it Pratham Malla Nyaya, meaning the one who is the heavyweight boxing champion, world champion, has to only fight with one fellow, not with every Tom, Dick and Harry. So that fellow fights with ultimately, so this chap should, that's Pratham Malla Nyaya. If you defeat him, you defeated everybody. So if you can deal with a spouse, you can deal with the whole world. In fact, that is the most sacred relationship and also very difficult relationship. Not that it is meant to be difficult, but we are not trained. We are not educated. We have not been told or made to understand what the true values of life are. And even after getting married also, we remain what we are. We don't let go. We retain our own individuality, our own likes and dislikes, our own demand. Nothing wrong in being an individual, nothing wrong in having your likes and dislikes. Have them. When we find that those likes and dislikes come in the way of a relationship, that relationship is more important than our ego. If that is our value. Relationship is more important than our ego, means our likes and dislikes, our individuality, our individual freedom. I always, project or express or, assert my individuality, my individual freedom, and that is the first thing. Having met that condition, and then I'm available, to do what I can. But that's the first barrier, my individuality, individual freedom. We are trained, of course, to assert individual freedom. But that is a barrier in relationship. It is an important thing to have, to be raised that way so that you have self-confidence, you have self-esteem, that's fine. When it comes to relationship, then that sense of individuality and individual freedom is the first barrier. More we let go of individuality, more we let go of freedom is demands. What is freedom is demands. More we let go, more harmony can be created. And more we hold on to that, less harmony is there, more distance is there. Physically we are living in the same roof, in the same bed and stuff like that. And still, as long as this thing remains, so long that separation remains. And so the purpose of life, to discover love, for that the married life is ideal situation. To discover true love, provided we understand what is the process of that, is letting go and not asserting, is not asserting myself, but letting go of myself. But do it carefully. Do it intelligently, wisely, I should say. Because sometimes other person may not have value for your life, then you have to cautiously proceed. But basically our value is how I can let go. Because by so doing I am not obliging another person, I am obliging myself. Because this demands and individuality is a big burden. That is bondage. Vedanta explains that what is bondage? Sense of individuality. That's what separates from everything else. I feel a sense of separatedness and sense of isolation. More individuality I have, more separatedness I have. And that's what I dislike. Our Swami used to say, nobody loves duality. Everybody loves non-duality. So that's what we love, non-duality. For the non-duality, two persons have come together to understand and to achieve that non-duality. But unfortunately, if you retain your individuality, the non-duality is never attained. And therefore, a spousal relationship, in my opinion, is most ideal relationship. If both the persons who are related have the maturity, have the right values, right attitudes, right understanding about the fundamentals of life. So non-duality is happiness. As long as the Rasagulla is away from me, so long there is separation, I am not happy enough. When it comes to my plate, then I am little happy, more happy. So when I come to know that this evening the mother is going to serve Rasgulla, then that day goes well, because thinking of Rasgulla itself makes me happy. Or laddu or whatever. When it comes to my plate, the happiness goes several fold. And when it becomes one with me, there is ecstasy. So the happiness is when there is oneness or non-duality. And I'm sure all of you experience that happiness. There are moments when individuality goes away and then you do experience that oneness and love. But that is by chance. We can make it happen by this value of oneness rather than duality, of non-duality rather than individuality, of letting go rather than holding on to it, rather than asserting. You can do assert in the world, you may have to do that. I'm not suggesting that you do the same thing everywhere else. But here, our value is, and it's going to take its own time, it's going to take a lot of time for us to grow, but thus we grow in maturity. As the fruit becomes mature, it becomes more fragrant and more delicious, and that's how our personality becomes. And so the one who gains most out of it is the one who lets go. That's the process of growth. That's the process of discovering true love. As my own self, that's how I start liking myself. The result is that as I discover love in myself, I start liking myself. I'm happy with myself, comfortable with myself, and the culmination of that is called Jivan Mukti. When you love yourself totally, you are liberated while living. So you have to be liberated, free, then love the self. How do I love the self? Well, by giving love to others. In every relationship, that should be our approach. Our Swami used to say, when anybody comes before me, my first thought is, what can I do for this person? Now, he can afford to do that, We are not yet there. And so I'm not suggesting that you right away plunge into that. But at least that's an attitude. He has nothing to lose, so he can always think, what can I do? If somebody exploits, he doesn't mind. Somebody uses him, doesn't mind, because he has nothing to lose. Now, we still have a lot of things to hold on to. So we may not be able to do it unconditionally. But at least there is an attitude. How can I be useful? What can I do? What can I contribute? How can I be kind and accepting and accommodating to other person? How can I, without grudge, accept their limitations? Accept their blemishes? Accept their vices? Because the person has no choice in being what they are. That's how they are made by Ishvara. That's how they are. And that's how Ishvara brings us together. Some karma brings us together, I guess, Even this assembly is there, my karma, your karma, some kind of a combination is there which brings us together. So when this happened, then how best do we use this occasion? Is by offering myself as much as I can. And thus if that is the attitude, then we learn how to offer. Offering is not easy. It's not a simple thing also. To offer also requires a lot of wisdom, a lot of care and sensitivity. But we learn in the process. Perhaps in the beginning we may be burnt, it's possible. Then we learn. And thus, so learning to offer also, we have to learn to grow in that maturity. That happens if you have commitment. And if you are understanding the reality, that love is ultimate reality. That reality about me is love, about you is love, and love is that is Brahman. You call it love, call it Ananda, call it Satchidananda, Ishvara, Self, Brahman, whatever you call it. That's ultimate reality. And closer we are to reality, happier we are and more free we are. Become one with reality, total happiness, total freedom. So that is the goal of life. When shall we achieve it? Don't bother. The process is important. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Don't be too concerned about the outcome and when it will happen. When am I going to be liberated, Swami? I want to be liberated. Well, it's not something like ripening a fruit by nitrogen and stuff like that. We don't have any such agent by which you can just liberate it like that. There are people who offer those kind of packages, of course, where you can get liberated, by doing something, some kind of process, which may be there, we don't know that. And I think we don't even need that because we have a natural process. What Vedanta does is, it's a down-to-earth situation. And it starts with what we are, accepts what we are, and then begins from there. So it's a very, a process in keeping with nature, not doing something unnatural. Of twisting and turning the body, nothing wrong with that, or the prana, etc. and mind, and those processes are there. And we respect all of them. But even without that also, by this process, that's why Lord Krishna calls it a yoga. This life is called, that is called yoga also, where chitta vritti nirodha comes, where samadhi comes. That is also yoga. It's also called yoga. We will achieve the same result by this also. So by living your life properly also you achieve the same result. Lord Krishna gives a simple formula of how to make other person happy. He says, Atmamupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna. Sukham vayadi va dukkham sayogi paramamata. In every interaction, you bring yourself as a very standard. Meaning that, how would you like to be treated in this situation? And try to treat other person in the manner in which you would have liked to be treated. Easy. It is easy to say. Or put it this way, treat other person as you treat yourself. And I always want to make myself happy, never unhappy. And so my attitude should be to try to make other person happy and not unhappy. That's the formula Lord Krishna gives. You know what the formula is based on? Because self that you are is self that I am. And therefore, ideally I should treat you as I treat myself because that's you and I are one. So it begins from non-duality. That non-duality becomes the basis of our life. See how Vedanta teaches what's called yoga. Yoga is a way of living life which is in harmony with the reality. So this is our reality. And values and attitudes are taught to us which are in harmony with that reality. The life becomes simple. And every process there is happiness. Because closer you are in harmony, harmony, more you are in harmony with the reality, happier you are. So, process of becoming happy, loving, kind, giving. There is nothing to lose. Even if you think that somebody exploited you, somebody did this to you, that is all karma, don't worry. That has to come anyway. So if you have to go through some pain, it will come in some way or the other. And maybe you feel that somebody caused me pain, but it's our karma that brings about that. So let go. Don't be too hard on that person that he or she did something to you. I think my karma must have prompted that person to behave in a certain way, so they behave like this. So Swami used to say, Om Tat Sat. When something happens, Om Tat Sat. That's called full stop. When you write a sentence, put a full stop. You don't put a full stop. He came here, full stop. He came here and then he said that, full stop, comma. Then he looked at me like this, full stop, no, semicolon. Then he stared at me, full stop, no, then, dash, something like that. The sentence goes on and on and on. We never put full stop. Full stop. He said this to me, full stop. That's it. Yeah, but you go on and on and on and on with it. Full stop. So Swamiji, this person did this to me. Full stop. It's karma did it. Let that person go. Release that person. By releasing other person, we are releasing ourselves really, because that person remains in our mind. So Vedanta teaches the process of letting go, because we are holding on. That's called neti neti. Have you heard this from Upanishad? Neti neti. not this, not this. Letting go, letting go. It is letting go of the burden, not something that makes us happy, letting go of something that makes us unhappy. And this is the process of establishing oneness. Even though the duality remains at the level of personality, the person is one. And so in spite of the difference in personality, the oneness can be established at the level of person. And that is our attempt. That's in keeping with the reality. So a life lived in harmony with the reality is a life lived intelligently. In that life there is happiness and love, giving and sharing and caring and doing. We grow into that progressively. So with that, wish all the best, that the life becomes fragrance with love and happiness and fulfillment.